Coming off a disappointing loss to South Carolina, I was really disappointed more so with our effort on the defensive end. South Carolina is a team that's been averaging about 61 points per game in SEC play, and we gave up 81 points. So I thought we played pretty well offensively, shot the ball really well, didn't much so in the second half, but played well enough on the offensive end to get a road win, but didn't do that on the defensive end, and that's kind of been our calling card here. Now we put ourselves in a difficult situation where we're trying to avoid playing on the first day in the SEC tournament, and now it's a situation where we're going to have to win our last two remaining games and get help from someone else. So I thought before, if we could have won at South Carolina, we could have been in a situation where we control kind of our own destiny. But now we've got to get ready for a very good Vanderbilt team. Those freshmen are really starting to mature now and play well together. Coach Stallings has done a great job of getting that team together. Damian Jones is an inside force, and because of the way they shoot the three-point shot, it really puts you in a bind on what you're going to do with him defensively. So before we take questions, just one last thing. I said this here a little bit in our teleconference with the SEC, but just looking at some stats here, Craig Swart has had a phenomenal SEC conference play. He's 10th in the SEC in scoring. I believe he's 8th in steals. But if you consider the fact that we're 10th in the SEC in scoring as a team, and he's 10th in the SEC in scoring, he's taken a lot of percentage of our points as far as scoring. I don't see how there's 8 people in the SEC that's done more for their team than what Craig Swart has done at this point in time. And also looking at stats of what he does from the free throw line, he's taken 110 free throws in SEC play. That's more than anybody else in the league. I think Simeon Bowers has shot 100 of them. And then you start, I think Michael Qualls is 98 and start going down from there. So I just think he's done a great job, and hopefully he gets recognized for that.
Questions?
When you look at this Vanderbilt team, has it been there? I mean, I know against Tennessee it was their outside shooting, and they were just phenomenal in that second half. But has it just been that, their streaky shooting that's carried them the last few weeks?
I don't think they're streaky shooters. I think those guys can really shoot the basketball. I think what Kevin Stallings' philosophy is to go out and recruit perimeter guys that can make shots. And then when you have Damian Jones down there, who's a guy who can score with his back to the basket, it puts you in a situation when you got to kind of pick your poison. Do you help off the perimeter and allow some of those guys to get some three-point looks, or do you allow Damian Jones to go one-on-one in the post, which he can score, but more importantly also puts your big guys in foul trouble as well too. So I think they're really playing well, but he's got a freshman perimeter. Baldwin is a freshman. LaChance is a freshman. Now he started Matthew Fisher-Davis. He's a freshman. So those guys are really playing well because they're starting to mature as basketball players.
When you look back on the film, what caused the defensive lapses, in your opinion, in South Carolina?
Well, I thought we got more so than anything, our one-on-one defense was not very good. I thought we had to help so much because their guards kind of got downhill on us, and we didn't do a very good job of playing one-on-one defense. And we had to help so much that it gave up wide-open shots because we had to come over and help. And I think the other thing is they got lobs on us in the post, so we didn't do a great job of pushing their post guys down to not allow those lobs into the post. So every post move they got was a drop-step layup. It wasn't it was an uncontested layup rather than us being behind that guy making him make a post move.
When you look at the schedule, a bunch of losses again at the end of the season. How does this season feel different than the first two?
Well, I haven't looked at it in that way. I thought that we had some losses here down the stretch against probably the 3 best teams that were playing at that point in time in the SEC. When you look at Arkansas and Kentucky, obviously we had those games at home. But I thought we were in those ball games with with Ole Miss, and then also with Arkansas, and then we had close ball games against Georgia. So I think we've been in ball games. We had a chance to win in the second half going down the stretch, but just really didn't do it.
How rewarding is it as a coach to run across a guy like Isaiah Butler that had every chance to give up on basketball and give up on his dream, but he didn't?
Well, first of all, he's a good person, and that's what you want to be associated with. I don't care if you're in basketball, whether you're job, of course, whatever you're doing in your walk of life, you want to be involved with good people. And I think Isaiah Butler is a really good person. But it's perseverance, you know, to kind of stay the course and continue to do some things that he's done in order to be at this point, just really speaks volumes of him as a person. So I think he's a guy that helps us every single day on the court, whether it be in practice, whether it be in a game setting, whether it be in individual workouts. He's a guy that's always helping the team in some way, shape, or form.
What has Rockwez and Trevante been to this program? I mean, this will be their last week, 2 weeks on this team. What have they been to this program?
Yeah. First of all, with Rockwez, the fact that he stayed here when the coaching change happened, so he's a guy that stayed with it throughout the time. That just it means a lot to me because he could have chose to go somewhere else and continue his playing career, but he showed faith in me and showed faith in the program by kind of persevering through this without a lot of rewards as far as like wins and losses. So you just you want to thank him for that. But then also just to see him develop as a basketball player. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, had scored 1 point his freshman year, and to see his maturation as a basketball player to actually being a guy who was kind of a garbage guy to now being a guy who actually is a scoring threat just speaks to the fact that he's really worked on his individual game and gotten better and developed. With Trevante Bloodman, he was one of the first recruits to come on board when we got the job here. And obviously his senior year, he would like to see more playing time, would like to see more things happen for him personally. But I think he's a guy that stayed to be a team guy. He's understanding that IJ brings some things to the table that he's not able to bring at times. And he's really accepted that role and kind of stuck with the team.
What do you think the final 2 games of the regular season will kind of reveal about this team?
Oh, I don't know, Michael. It'd be hard to say until we actually get the results of that. So, but I would like to see us just go out and play well. I think Vanderbilt scored 51 points here at our place, and I think they might have scored 47 against Florida. So we did a really good job against them defensively in the first game with all their scores and all their set plays and all the options they have. So we like to go out and defend that same way at Vanderbilt. Obviously, it'll be a little bit better situation for them because they'll be at home, but we just got to make sure we defend against Vanderbilt. And against Missouri, once again, those guys have played well, and it was a close ball game down the stretch, but we was able to pull it out there. So, you know, I really haven't looked at Mizzou at all, so I'm just focusing in on Vandy, but I just like to see us go out and give another defensive effort against that poor defensive effort we just had at South Carolina.
Heading into the Final 3, how important, how big of a goal was it to get that first round bye? Because that was kind of the goal that was left in the season.
Yeah, I think it's really important because it gives you a chance to have some success in the SEC. I think if you're in a situation where you're trying to win a tournament, the best way to win a tournament is not to play an extra game. So for us to have some success in the SEC tournament, I think we've got to get to the point where we don't have to play as many games in the tournament.
I know you, I've asked you about the other signees in the recent weeks. How has Joseph done this year? I mean, what have you seen from him, or are they still playing?
Yeah, first of all, the fact that our signees coming in are having success in the state playoffs, I love that fact. Joseph Strug, they won their state title. So just the fact that he's able to pull his team and get to a situation where they win a state title, that's great. Quindary Weatherspoon is going to be in a situation where they're still alive in the state playoffs. They made it to Jackson, and he's going to be in a situation where he can play for his 3rd straight state championship. And then what Tookie Brown just did as far as getting those guys to the championship game, had 32 points in the second half or against a team they'd already lost twice against that everybody said was the #1 team in the state. So just the fact that your guys that you sign are still alive in the state playoffs or have already won a state championship just means that you're recruiting guys who are winners.
What have you seen from Joseph this year compared to his?
Yeah, he's a guy that was kind of in the background because of the success that some of those other guys had. They've had some really good players over at Carver, including Demetrius Houston. So he was a guy that wasn't asked to do a lot in the scoring load. So he's taking on an increased scoring load for those guys. But what he does best is he defends and he rebounds. He's about 6'9". He needs to get bigger and stronger. But he's going to be a guy that's similar to Oliver Black, whereas the fact that he can come in here right away and give us something on the defensive end because of his ability to block shots and rebound. And he also can switch ball screens and move. The offense is going to be a thing that's going to be a course for him that he's going to have to get better with his development. But I think what will help him with his offensive development more than anything is him getting bigger and stronger.
You mentioned Demetrius seemed like he's starting to look more comfortable in that role.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that started to figure out what he can do and what he can't do. And I think that's what all freshmen. It's happened a little bit later for him. But I think he's a guy that's got a competitive spirit to him. And he's just got to make sure that he's taking that competitive spirit in the right direction. So I think he's starting to figure out how he can help this team because he's such an athlete. He's a guy that can rebound, defend, and do some different things for us. But now he's starting to understand what's a good shot, what's a bad shot. So you'd like for him to figure that out a little bit earlier in the season. But the fact is he's starting to get it, and he's playing really well for us right now.
How satisfied are you with overall freshman play this season?
Well, I think with both Demetrius, with Oliver, and then also with Falou, those are guys that have always done some really good things for us defensively. I think, everybody talks about athleticism with big guys, and obviously just think about running and jumping. But I think with the athleticism that Oliver Black and Falou possess is their ability to move their feet. They have such good lateral quickness that we're allowed to do some different things with them on ball screen actions. We can switch ball screens, they can hedge it, they can drag it out. They can do a whole bunch of different things as far as like the ability to move their feet. So defensively, they've been pretty good. With Falou, he's got to become a guy who gets more rebounds for us. He's in there wrestling around a lot. And I think that's because of his lack of weight and strength at this point in time, that he's more wrestling than going to go get the basketball. So he needs to become a better rebounder for us. He's a guy that's got to continue to get his hands better so he can go up and finish around the rim for us. Falou is a weird back-to-the-basket guy. I shouldn't say back-to-the-basket, they're different big. Most bigs aren't very comfortable with their back to the basket, but they can finish. Where Falou is kind of reverse. He's a guy that scores better with his back to the basket but doesn't do a great job of finishing. So we've got to get him better at the rim finishing. Oliver Black, first of all, is a smart kid. He's picked up on everything we wanted right away. He knows all the sets. He knows the scouting reports. He does a good job of knowing how to sniff things out. He's a very active defender. Same thing with him offensively. He's got to become a guy that becomes more comfortable with his offense. He's got to be a guy that's able to finish for us at the rim. He's got to be a guy when he gets the ball with his back to the basket one-on-one, he's not looking to pass, but looking to score. But really happy with where those guys are defensively. They just got a ways to go on the offensive end. And with Demetrius Houston, I think you see every single time that he sets foot on the court, he might be the best athlete on the court. So anytime you possess that sort of athleticism, you have a chance to be a good player. Now his skill development's got to start to match his athleticism.
When you look forward to next year, how important is that this current freshman class, and then the juniors this year? Those two classes seem to be maybe the foundation that could lead to success next year.
Oh, I'd be lying to you if I said I'm looking, past this right here now. So I really don't have an answer for you, but I think any recruiting class that you bring in, and if you want a chance to be good, you got to start stacking good recruiting classes.